The wait is over. We cannot thank you enough for your support in making this absolute dream come true, shipping out the Archetype Brace, and hopefully it will be a lot of fun. So by the end of this video, you should know exactly how to put on, take off, and put back on again your Archetype Brace. You've waited long enough, let's jump right into it. So the Archetype Brace, as you can see, will come shipped with both the front and the back clipped in. You can tell the front of the Archetype Brace because the plastic pieces will swoop up towards the center, and the buckles are on the front side. First, you're going to start by unclipping all 6 of the buckles. Next, you can give it a nice little toss like that, or just separate them by hand, just to kind of get the buckles and straps out of the way because there is a lot of excess at this exact moment. You're going to wrap it around the leg like so, pinch it with your other leg, and then go one by one, buckling them in. I usually like to start with the top because it's a little bit easier for me to get it on. And again, after the first time, it becomes a lot easier. So this is sort of a one-time process. Think of it almost like setting up your phone, where you create your factory settings, so to speak, and every time after that is a slight refinement of where you previously had it, but much closer than setting it up for the first time. An alternative strategy to this is that instead of unbuckling and buckling it, if you have slightly thinner legs or slightly smaller legs, you can always just pull it up over your foot and arrive at the same place. Now, with the brace roughly attached on the leg, you can still see that there's a lot of slop here, a lot to tighten down. Now, what makes this brace wonderful but also slightly less intuitive is the fact that the hinge is going to be offset from the knee. So instead of being right in the middle of the knee like most knee braces, it's going to be pushing a little bit forward. But even though that's the case, you want to try and keep these plastic pieces nice and aligned with your legs. So buckle, sort of central point, you're going to have facing forward a little bit in front of the knee, or I should say more in line with the front of the knee. But 1, 2, 3 here, and then 1, 2, 3 of these attachment points you're going to try and have just in line with the center of the leg going up and down. I like to keep my leg at like a 60-70% open stance when I do this, but it's really just preference. I usually like to start with the innermost ones, but it doesn't matter too much on this first step. Just kind of loosely start finding your place, honing it in a little bit, keeping in mind that you can pull the strap to tighten it down, but you can also lift up against the strap here, or I should say the buckle, to release it, slide it, give you more room, so that way you can figure out both front and back what makes sense for your leg. All right, just take a second to do that. This first time you try and stand up, don't go crazy tight with it, just try and make sure it doesn't fall off your leg. There will always be time to make it tighter down the road. Like here, for example, I accidentally tightened the back slightly too far on this first setup, so I'm just going to loosen that a little bit and then compensate by tightening on the front, and vice versa. If the plastic piece is pushed a little bit too far to the front, you can always loosen the front a little bit and then tighten down the back. Now, that's looking pretty good to me here. You can see the plastic piece roughly in the middle, pointing down and pointing across my leg. I'm going to give it a first stand up. It's feeling okay so far, but as you might experience for the first time, it's a little bit loose. That's a great sign. Just sit back down, starting with the innermost one, so innermost, and working your way out. Tighten it down a little bit more. Alrighty. Stand up. Ooh, that's feeling better. Getting much closer. All right, and what you will find that's very helpful as well is that when you're trying to get these in line with the center of the leg and get this in front, you can always essentially grab the brace from the middle here and pull up into the front. So essentially sort of imagining a laser beam shooting off from your knee, pull up into the front, and that'll essentially compress it, bring the upper straps down, bring the lower straps up to a slightly smaller portion of your leg where it'll be a little bit easier to tighten down. But I will say that is feeling pretty good for me. So, just like that, take it, stand up, feeling all right with that. The next step is you're going to take each of the straps, feed it in here, and pull. You're going to find these little black buckles conveniently placed along the strap, sort of downstream from the buckles or from sort of the slide pieces on the back end. And these are really just to help you manage all of the excess. We ship it with lots of excess, so that way if your measurements change from the first time you sent it in to us, or you want to share it with a friend, or for whatever reason you just want to have a lot of room to play, it gives you some flexibility. And because it's made of high quality nylon, you'll just be able to cut it down the line. Once you find your perfect sizing, again, trying to make sure that you keep a good 5-6 inches, something like that, so you have room to play with, room to wiggle, room to tweak the front and the back. But essentially taking 5 or 6 inches and then cutting off the excess, so that what you're left with is a perfectly trim inline brace that doesn't flap around and looks lovely. I will not make you go through the pain of watching all of that, but I will say that sometimes it can be convenient for the first few times you wear the brace just to let the flaps kind of hang free, so that way it's a lot easier and a lot quicker to adjust, go back and forth, tweak the tightness of the brace, so that way you manage the fine line sort of between the brace slipping around too much or being too tight that you can't stand up. And I will again reiterate that sort of putting it on, tightening it down in this sort of 60-70% compressed position for most people leads to it feeling like a good level of separation between the lower and upper leg when you stand up. And you should be able to tell that the brace is working because it doesn't feel like it's caching or putting your leg in an awkward position, but it also feels like you're getting that nice separative force between your upper and lower leg every time your leg more fully extends. Now, with the excitement of that all underway, your next question is, what the heck are these neoprene pads? And that's a very fair question. Figuring that it was the winter time, our team decided it best to ship the pads detached from the brace, but they're sort of an extra add-on feature, if you will, an extension of the brace that can allow for further comfort, further compression. And so during the winter months, you may find that most of your pants are thick enough, the brace is very comfortable with no padding. And I will say that this is the highest performance setting. If you think of a car and think of it having more of a softer drive mode or more of an aggressive drive mode, the brace shipping without the extra padding but on top of your pants is the more aggressive drive mode, so improving the shock absorption but coming at the cost of some comfortability. These paddings are really here just to improve that comfort level, so when summertime rolls around, you don't want to wear pants, of course. This will essentially provide a nice, lovely buffer between the knee brace and your leg, so that way if you're wearing it for hours at a time, it can, further improve the comfort and hopefully make it just a lovely, more enjoyable experience. But if you're wearing pants, I'd say that you should be great to go just as is, but you can always layer this over the pants for further comfort. So just figuring out your own personal level of managing comfort versus impact control. You can decide that for yourself, try out both modalities. And to put them on, it's as simple as taking the back straps here, going 1, pulling it out, 2, so picking up the buckle here, and then pulling it out, and then 3, picking up the buckle, pulling it out, and then taking all 3 of the straps, and you can just grab them all 3 at the same time, and feeding it through the hole in the back of the strap here. This process is usually easier done. Oh, goodness gracious. I almost put the top strap on the bottom. You'll find 2 different sections. This bone section is the bottom section. So taking it, finding the hole, and then feeding it through that hole with the padding facing your knee. moving it around, sort of layering it under the brace here, fitting it back over, and then reconnecting 1, 2, 3 down the line. I'm going to leave it off for the purpose of this demonstration because I am wearing pants, but you will find that it provides an extra, sometimes much needed, soft layer of protection, depending on your clothing choice for the day. Now, the exciting part of this brace, and the reason that all of this setup was so helpful in the beginning, is the buckles. After setting it up for the first time, you'll be able to easily unclip 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the brace pops off the back, ready to be stored, ready to be carried, ready to be packed away in a really convenient, small, streamlined package. Then, when you're ready to put it back on, you simply take it, shake it out to make sure all of the straps are falling to the outside, and then putting it on, pulling it from the front middle here, pinching it with your leg, and then clipping. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and should be all good to go. The first few times you use it, I'd recommend tweaking it a little bit, stepping up, seeing how it feels, seeing where it's tight, seeing where it's loose, bringing it back down, tightening it up as you desire, and again moving from the inside out until you find the perfect fit for you.